when we come to a cemetery, a place of resting, there's a prayer that we recite. I'm going to recite the prayer, and when I wave my hand, we can all answer Amen. When I wave my hand, we can all answer Amen and fulfill the mitzvah together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yotzar eschem badin, v'zan v'chilkel eschem badin, v'hemes eschem badin, v'yadea mispar kulchem badin, v'wasid lachayoischem l'kayim eschem badin, Baruch atah Adonai mechaya hamesim.
Amen.
Amen.
Ato gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaya mesim ato rav lo'shia, mechalkel chayim b'chesed, mechaya mesim b'rachamim rabim. So make noflim v'ropech cholim u'matir asurim, u'mekayim v'manaseh v'shenei yafor. Micha mocha bal gevorosum idom melech, melech memes u'mechaya, u'matzmiach Yeshua v'nemanat alach yos mesim. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who fashioned you with justice, nourished and sustained you with justice, took your lives with justice, knows the sum total of you all in justice, and will restore and resuscitate you in justice. Blessed are you, Lord, who revives the dead. You are eternally mighty, Lord, the reviver of the dead are you, abundantly to save. God sustains the living with kindness, revives the dead with abundant compassion, supports the fallen, heals the sick, releases the confined, and maintains faith to those asleep in the earth. Who is like you, master of mighty deeds, and who is comparable to you, the ruler who causes death and restores life and makes salvation sprout? And you are trustworthy to revive the dead. And so it's unimaginable in a way for us on the King David campus, Menorah Park, to have to part with our beloved Libela, Tante Leah, Leona, Diana, Polster, Liva Bas Simcha. Although she said Simcha Alevi, there's some discussion about that, the Polster's a Levium or not. But she was just such a wonderful human being, such a strong woman. And you know that the Tiferes Yisrael, the great rabbi, says that the prayers that we recite about resurrection, that God will resurrect us through all of our good deeds, that God created the caterpillar and the butterfly to teach us that the caterpillar lives a life and eats leaves, and one day it spins itself a tomb, and it sits there, it looks like it's dead. And then after a while, not only was it not dead, it comes out a much more beautiful creation. And so too our Liba, she glistened and glittered with so many beautiful qualities and traits. She was such a beautiful, beautiful person, and she will be so sorely, so much missed. I knew her through her caring for others, really. I see other members of the family here, people that we knew how she cared for her sister, and she would come all the time, and other family members, sisters really, and loved ones. So I want to try to capture a little bit of some of the beautiful things the family shared, the boys shared with me yesterday. Her father, Simcha Stoltz, and her mother, Taibela Table, they were married. They had a marriage. It was arranged in Vilna. They were married in 1913, her parents, and then came to the United States. Her sister Mary, Zichron Levracha, was born in 1914. Velvel Victor in 1915. Pauline Peshalea, 1917. Our Libela was born in 1925. Liba Ruth Rachel in 1928. Simcha, her father, was a tailor. He worked with Richmond Brothers on East 55th Street. Tybal raised the children, worked very hard as a mother, and she also managed the dry cleaning later on. Liba went to Gladstone Elementary School and Kennard Junior High on Scoville. John Hay, where she took business typing, which was very much in her character. She worked to help the war efforts at National Acme during high school. And, Philip, her husband, was in the imagine, in the armed forces for 5 years, 4 years in World War II, and a year before Pearl Harbor. And unimaginable, right? We know how much strain troops go through even a month or two in battle. And he was in the armed forces for 5 years. They got married in the summer of 1945. How did they meet? How did she meet him? Well, she actually, Liebe was dating Irving Polster, Philip's cousin and best friend. And they were out on a double date, and she saw Philip, and she was interested, I imagine, and hoped he would call her, and he did. Feitel gave her a call. Feitel Ben Tzvi, Olav Shalom, gave her a call, and they dated for a number of months. Were married in November of 22nd of 1945, and they fairly soon the family moved to South Euclid in 1950, and there they had a beautiful home on 4189 Bayard Road. I pass it all the time. And Paul Pinchas was born in 1946. James Yankel in 1951. In 1962, they opened up the Madison Furniture Mart, one in Lakewood and one in Euclid. Liebe worked hard as a housewife, like her mother, to raise the children until the kids were about 10 and 15. Then she went to work in sales. And not only that, she went to school to train how to repair furniture. She had special tools. In fact, I think one of the boys said he still has her kit of tools that she used to repair furniture. She cared for everyone. She cared for her sister, Pauline, Ruth. Ruth, didn't drive. Teubele didn't drive either. So she was really busy, always taking care of everyone. And her mother, Teubele, kept working in the dry cleaner almost to her final days. A tragedy happened. Tragedy struck in 1977 when Philip passed away at the young age of 58. Then Liebe was working then at J.L. Goodman, and she did furniture design and sales. Paul went to serve in Vietnam from 1965 to 69. He followed really in his father's footsteps. In 1995, at age 70, imagine that, Liebe became a volunteer chaplain at South Point Hospital, a position that she held for 2 decades, 20 years, and not in a simple place. She was the chaplain in the emergency room, a pastoral counselor. She spent her life always being a giver, a caretaker. She spent a lot of time with Ruth. They would camp out together. And she really did all she could to inspire her sister and keep her going, something that we witnessed often at Menorah Park, just her constant coming. She was always glittering. If you knew her, she always had beautiful jewelry, hats, and she was gifted at sewing and beautiful clothing. She was proud of that. She cared for her husband too. Her husband, Feitel, Philip, had a heart condition for years. And she realized she'd have to work extra hard. She would sew at home to make extra money. In her final days, she had many, many friends on the Menorah Park, King David campus. Many, many friends. We wanted to mention one friend, a special, Sam Wolf, very special human being. And they inspired each other together on our campus. The family has prepared some eulogies to deliver before we recite some prayers. And I would ask if we would call some of the family members at this time. You want to? Who should begin?
I don't know. Is that okay?
Sure.
It's been said that you always end up where you started. This was definitely true for Tante Liebe, Aunt Libby Polster. Her working career really started just down the street on 185 from the Hospice of the Western Reserve. She worked, shopped, ate, banked, and hit the rummage store, all within a short distance of Madison Furniture. She provided the free decorator services that were highlighted on the official business card. Being widowed at an early age, Tanta was a fiercely independent woman. She was the only one of the sisters that drove. She was also the family nurturer. She took care of her two sisters and her father, who had returned to Cleveland after many years in California. Like clockwork, on Thursdays, she would pick up the girls and Grandpa Sam, have brunch at Kenny King's, then spend the afternoon at the Mayfield Road rummage store. Many a Saturday night, she and my mom played hot and heavy rummikub with Seth, Tova, and cousin Johnny. For many years, she was a volunteer clergy provider at South Point Hospital. She always took her job very diligently, often translating for Russian patients. When my mom moved to Menora Park, Tanta was there all the time. She was there every Friday for a grilled cheese sandwich at Pearl's Place. They loved to attend Rabbi Joseph's Oneg Shabbat program and socialize. She stayed for dinner and conversation. Everyone knew Ruthie's sister Libby. They were sisters first, but also best friends. Generous and kind, that was Tanta Liba. So if you're ever trying to bebop down Ridgebury Boulevard and you're suddenly behind a slow-moving white Saturn with 3 women inside, please be patient, because it'll be stopping at every single garage sale in sight.
Yeah, please.
Her niece Kathy.
My aunt Libby went by several names. She was given the name Leona when she was born, Liba, and we called her Libby. I don't know where that came from. Maybe we couldn't say her full name, but to us she was Aunt Libby. And at work she was known as Lee. Her business cards all said Lee Polster. A lot of people are known for their sense of humor, and my Aunt Libby had a great sense of humor. It was wildly, wickedly inappropriate at times, a little ribald, but more than her sense of humor, she had a sense of fun. We knew if we were with her, any trip was going to be an adventure. She was the only woman in our family who drove, who had a car. We would take adventures to the rummage store, garage sales, even just going to the grocery store was an adventure. I can remember her first car that I remember. I'm sure it might not have been her first car, but it was a Volkswagen, and I think, Paul, it was your Volkswagen that sort of got given to her when you went off either to college or to war. But we went everywhere in that Volkswagen. We had some great adventures, from having a garbage truck roll back on us and hit us, and the man getting out yelling at her, and she could give it right back to him. So, I remember she had a Saturn, and it was indestructible. It was one of the first fiberglass cars out there. It was not going to rust. And if I'm not mistaken, the next car was a little white Fiat that had a very long life. I know it made it to 17 years, and maybe even beyond that. And she told me, you have to talk to your cars. You have to be nice to them and talk sweet to them to make them go every morning. Many of our adventures took place at the rummage stores, where I did not like to go. I didn't want my clothes from there. I wanted my clothes from Severance Mall that had just opened up at the time. But we went, and I would spend my time looking at Nancy Drew books and trying to see if anybody had given away any Beatles albums. That never happened. But my mom and my Aunt Ruth and my Aunt Libby were always in the clothes, because there was just designer clothes there that they could get at a good price. But I can remember one time she came over to me over in the records section, and she had a skirt that probably was a size 40. And she brought, and I was a size 12 at the time. She brought this over and she said, "What do you think?" And I'm looking at it going, "No, not for me." And she said, "Well, if we take a strip out here and put it around the top and we cut some slits in the side, it would be a great poncho." And of course, in the 60s, ponchos were very in. And so I had a great poncho. She could sew. She was good. Another adventure that took place that I remember her for is we were at a birthday party at my cousin Marty's house, and across the street there was a garage sale. So I kind of walked over, and everybody is saying, don't let her know there's a garage sale. You'll never get her out of there. But she saw there was a garage sale. So she walked on over too, and I'm standing in front of the jewelry, and I picked up a brooch that was sterling silver with amber, which is fossilized pine tar. And I really liked it, and I turned it over and I saw the price was $75, and I was like, nah, not for me. I put it down, and she said, "Well, do you like it?" And I said, "Yeah, I like it, but it's a bit out of my price range." And she said, "Well, you deserve it. You deserve something good." And I said, "Nah, it's a bit out of my price range." And there was a lot of costume jewelry on that table. Most of it was priced at like 10, 20. Well, this brooch said 75. So I left her with costume jewelry, and I walked over to look at some other stuff. A little while later, she comes over and she's saying, "We gotta go. We gotta go now." And she's dragging me down the driveway over to Marty's house. And I'm thinking, well, maybe she has to go to the bathroom. We gotta go now. So we get over to the middle of his driveway, Marty's driveway, and she pulls the brooch out of her purse. And she says, "I bought this for you." And I said, "Did you take it?" And I actually said steal. I said, "Did you steal it?" And she said, no, never. But it was a steal. And I was like, okay. I said, tell me what the deal is here. She said, "I took it up to where you pay, and I said to the man, 'What's your best price? Can you give me a deal on it?' He turned it, flipped it over, saw the 75, and said, 'No, I'm sorry, ma'am. 75 cents is the best we can do.'" And she handed me that brooch. So, when I was 2.5, my brother, who has since passed, was born when I was 2.5, and of course I went to stay with my Aunt Libby and Uncle Phil. I guess that's a week. Those days women stayed in the hospital for a week, and that was a long time to be away from your mother. But my Aunt Libby, and the story is my cousin Paul, made me this little bear. And it's so small, it's just the size of my hand, and I have cherished it. The bear is now 68 years old, and I've taken it from every move. I took it to college with me, everywhere I went, took the bear. Took it to kindergarten for Teddy Bear Picnic Day, and there's a song, Teddy Bear's Picnic. You can Google it and listen to it. It did win an award for the smallest bear there. And my Aunt Libby would come to my house at Thanksgiving time, and I told her one day, I still have this bear. And she said, "Let me see it." And we go back to the bedroom, and I said, "This bear sleeps on my pillow next to me every night." And she looked at me, and she looked at the bear, and she said, "You could trade that bear in for an 80-year-old man." And then she said, "No, wait, maybe 2 40-year-olds. That's my Aunt Libby.
Yeah.
Libby's daughter-in-law, Jean.
Thank you, Rabbi. So, I only had the privilege of knowing Lee for 20 years. I wish that I had known her for the whole 98. And I think what I'd just like to say is that when I think about Libby, I think about love. So, many mother-in-laws or future mother-in-laws, when they met someone like me, they might have been somewhat suspicious or asked a lot of questions. And she opened her arms to me and she never let go. And I just, when I think about her and the love that she had for these two gentlemen here, one of whom is my beloved Jim, that's what I think about, because I think about her love. That she never met a stranger, that she would pour her out, that she would let someone pour their heart out to her without judgment and full acceptance of who that person was. And I think that is how I will always remember her and miss her. And I just want to close by saying that there was never a time when Jim was with her that she didn't say, "Give Jean a kiss for me." So when I think about her, and if you could think about her, give someone you love a kiss from Libby, because that's just the kind of wonderful woman she was. And I feel very blessed that I had the 20 years that I did to know such a remarkable person. I'm so sorry.
Thanks, Judy. Thank you. Once you step
Hi, everyone. So, Cindy. Sorry. So, I'm the chaplain at South Point Hospital, and I was so blessed to know Lee. I knew her as Lee, and I just want to echo everything that everybody said. I'm a better person for having known Lee. She's such a kind, gentle spirit, and the last person who was up there just shared about how she would let people pour their heart out to her, and such a interfaith kind of person. Okay, she was just with Christians, anybody, it didn't matter. And like I said, I'm a better person for having known Lee. Thank you for sharing her with us. Such a great blessing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What is your name?
Chuck.
Chuck. Thank you, Chuck.
Okay.
So many people.
Chuck.
She was a very true, straightforward human being, and she uplifted those around her, and we really have a mandate to continue to persevere, to work hard to help others. When we think about her, it's really, it demands of us to be better, to do more, not to give up, but just to work and to overcome all the challenges, and think of the challenges she had growing up in poverty, when times were difficult, and how she overcame that, and she was there for her siblings. And then she struggled, her husband had the heart ailment, and she took care of him, and she continued, and then he passed away at that young age, and she continued to raise the children. And then when she was ready to retire and to lavish things upon herself, she wouldn't think of it. Instead, she volunteered to be a chaplain for 20 years. 20 years! Oh, I was telling the boys yesterday, I work with chaplains, and right around 65, they're thinking about retiring, and she started her career at 70. That's a great admonition to us, really. Is that the word? That we need to do the best we can with the time we have, and to be as best people we have. And as we can work on ourselves to reach the heights that she was able to reach, so we too can continue to bring her blessing and her memory to life. I'm going to recite a brief prayer, if you would with me, and then we'll say the mourner's Kaddish, and then we'll say the burial Kaddish after. I think that'll be the best way to do it. We have here the two sons, and that's a big merit for them to say the Kaddish. If you could repeat after me, we're going to say Psalm 23, a song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack.
Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack.
God causes me to lie down in lush pastures.
God causes me to lie down in lush pastures.
God leads me beside tranquil waters.
God leads me beside tranquil waters.
God restores my soul
God restores my soul.
and guides me in righteous paths for God's name's sake.
Guide me in righteous paths for God's name's sake.
Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
I will fear no evil, for you are with me.
I will fear no evil, for you are with me.
Your scepter and staff, they comfort me.
Your scepter and staff, they comfort me.
You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries.
You prepare a table in front of me in full view of my adversaries.
You have anointed my head with oil.
You have anointed my head with oil.
My cup overflows.
My cup overflows.
May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life.
May only kindness and goodness pursue me all the days of my life.
And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days.
And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days.
You know, we say in the prayer, the psalm we just said, may only kindness, goodness pursue me. And Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan, the Chafetz Chaim, asked the question. The word in Hebrew is yirdefuni, pursuit. But the word yirdefuni is like when someone's chasing someone else to harm him. Use that word, pursuit. You know what I mean? Like, term. So what does it mean that goodness and kindness should pursue me? So the rabbi says, because inevitably in life, we're going to have challenges. And the prayer of David is, let our challenges be in goodness and kindness. Let them be challenges that I have to overcome to help my parents because we're struggling in the home. Let the challenges be to overcome to help my husband who's so loyal and devoted, but he's a sickly man that I'm going to take care of. Let the challenges be that I care for other people. So let only goodness and kindness pursue me. The challenges, and that was her life. It really bespeaks of her life. What were her challenges? All those things. Giving out love for those whom she loved and those whom she wanted to continue to love and to build up. At this time we'll recite the Kaddish, then I'll recite the Kilmole, and then we'll bring our loved one to rest. And after we place the cover on the Aron, we'll recite the burial Kaddish. Are the boys ready for Kaddish?
Sure.
Okay. Yiskadal, Yiskadash, Shemei, Rabba, Bialma, Divra, Chirusei, Biyamlech, Malchusei, B'chayechon, Ubiyomechon, Ub'chayei, B'chol, Beis, Yisrael, Ba'agola, Ubizman, Kariv, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbo Mivorach Liolam Lomei Olmaya Yisparach V'yishtabach V'yispoar V'yisromam V'yisnasei V'yishador V'yisaleh V'yishalo Shmei V'kudsha B'richu Li'ela Min Kol Birchasa V'shirasa Tush v'chasa, v'nechem asa, da'amiran v'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom v'imroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mroma, Uyaseh shalom aleinu, V'al kol Yisrael, V'imru, amen. At this time we would prepare for bringing our loved one. While they come over, I'll chant a verse or two. Ashes Chayil, a gallant woman who can find, far beyond pearls is her worth. Her husband's heartfelt trust is in her, and he shall lack for nothing. She bestows good upon him and never harm all the days of her life. Her mouth is opened with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her lips. She oversees the ways of her household, and partakes not of the bread of laziness. Her children arise and praise her, her husband and he lauds her. Many daughters have accomplished well, but you surpass them all. Grace is false and beauty is vain. A woman in awe of God, she should be praised. Give her the fruits of her own hand, and let her deeds praise her in the gathering places.